language on Canal the International. I'm called Morinzi. It's exactly 6:15 at Major Stories. Continuous rainfall in Cameroon's economic capital Douala this September 1. Houses, vehicles, roads, bridges were all submerged by water and remained blocked all day, while a majority of persons living in rig zones had to abandon the area in fear of being carried away by the floods. With predictions of a 4.4% increase in Cameroon's growth rate next year, there are fears of a possible tax increase, which analysts say might affect the local man. And Cameroon and Nigeria reinforces security ties. Focus of a discussion today between Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration and the Nigerian High Commissioner to Cameroon. Those were major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more and welcome to the primetime newscast in the English language on Canal the International. Continuous rainfall in Cameroon's economic city Douala this September 1. Vehicles, houses, bridges and all submerged by water. Inhabitants have again expressed frustration as many were blocked indoors, while others living in rig zones had to abandon their houses in fear of being carried away by the heavy floods. The following report paints a picture of Douala following heavy downfall. This is how Cameroon's economic city, Douala, looks like after heavy rains battered the city this September 1. Several roads, buildings, vehicles submerged following hours of torrential rainfall. Scores of residents were reportedly trapped in their homes, while others in rig zones had to abandon their homes in fear of being carried away by floods.
Il y a trop de l'eau là-bas, il n'y a pas moyen pour passer. Il n'y a pas moyen que moi-même je peux passer. Je suis obligé d'aller contenir pour passer.
Canal 2 team crisscross major neighborhoods as the rains continuously batter the city. From Bali to Pongjas, Rompoint, Bonamusadi, and many others, inhabitants express frustration, lamenting government's inability to properly canalize water and clear gutters of fields.
Ça peut pas porter un enfant qu'on va le courir très rapide. Vous voyez, tout un abdo et puis il n'y a pas possibilité.
Residents are calling on governments to find a more lasting solution to the flooding situation, like improving drainage infrastructure. With predictions of a 4.4 increase in Cameroon's growth rate next year, there are fears of a possible tax increase, which analysts say might affect the local man. This prediction follows presidential guidelines for the 2020 budget signed August 30, 2021. As we hear in the following story with Gladys Ambo Tibang.
The circular relating to the preparation of the state budget for the 2022 financial year, signed August 30, 2021 by the head of state, takes into account the country's economic, social and cultural development policy underpinned by the 2020-2030 National Development Strategy, which operationalizes the second phase of Vision 2035. It equally takes into consideration the post-COVID-19 economic recovery plan, conflicts on different fronts, and the organization of the African Cup of Nations. With all these, government predicts that Cameroon's economic growth rate will hit 4.4% next year. But then, taxpayers express fears of possible tax increase, fears backed by analysts.
Cameroon's tax system is very diverse, and to start panicking, you will never know which sector of the tax will be touched. I don't know whether it's going to be company tax or it's going to be individual personal income tax and so on. However, but generally a tax increase is always not good for a taxpayer.
The general growth of the economy doesn't mean that people will be taxed more. It just means that there will be more sources of revenue that can be taxed. That means might be more people will be putting up businesses that can be taxed, but it doesn't mean that the tax rate would increase. But if the tax rate were to increase, sometimes that value, it varies. But let's understand that too much taxation kills a business and kills incentives and initiatives.
The guidelines for the 2022 state budget also lay emphasis on the implementation of the new economic and financial program concluded with the International Monetary Fund, the IMF.
And close to 183,000 Cameroonians have effectively registered on the electoral list or on the electoral register this 2021. The statistics were revealed today by the Director General of Elections Cameroon, Elecam, Eric SOCIETE. Details with Beatrice Ngamu.
This year, 2021, some 182,913 Cameroonians enrolled on the electoral register, and partition shows Cameroonian youths took the lead as they represent 70% of the above figures.
116,631 men represented 65.79%, 66,282 women representing 34.21%, 131,778 youth who represent 72.04%, 187 persons with disabilities representing 0.09%.
It should be noted that the figures this year are better than that of last year.
As more specified, that we enrolled 167,836 more citizens as compared to 2020 revision exercise, which represents an increase of 91.70%.
The number this year brings the total figure of Cameroonians enrolled on the electoral registers pending cleaning up at 7,058,122. The Director General of Elections, Eric Esuse, assessing the close of voters' enrollment on the electoral registers this September 1st, appealing to electors to go and collect their cards in thousands at the different council branches of Elections Cameroon. Voters' registration process for this year is closed, and in January next year, that for 2022 will be launched and will run till the 31st of August, whether an election year or not.
And hundreds of farmers in the Nun Division, West region of Cameroon, have abandoned their farmland as a result of rising insecurity. The farmers say they are constantly attacked and stripped of their properties by armed men. This pushed them to storm the governor's office, as we hear in the following story.
Among these crowds are farmers, a majority of whom have abandoned their farmlands following unending attacks from criminals who either use machetes and locally fabricated pistols and other dangerous weapons to scare them off their farmlands. Most often they are beaten and stripped of their belongings and later on threatened not to set foot on their farmlands. Threats the farmers have described as unacceptable, thus pushing them to storm the governor's office. Since February, I have not set foot on my farm, simply because when we go there we are attacked by individuals. They beat us with machetes. No age group is respected. Even 60-year-old mothers are beaten, and they'll tell us not to set foot on our farmlands. In a meeting at the governor's office, the farmers say the violence had made it difficult for them to cater for their families. But the governor reassures, you are free to work in your farmlands. When you work, it's your right to eat the fruits of your labor. We have taken measures. The conflict is more visible at farmlands along the left side of the riverside in the Nun Division. Farmers want government to reinforce security around the area so they could go back to their farms and feed their families.
Cameroon and Nigeria reinforces security ties. This was the focus of a meeting today between Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration and Nigerian High Commissioner to Cameroon. The audience is coming on the heels of the 8th session of the Cameroon-Nigeria Transborder Security Meeting that held in Abuja on August 26, 2021. The details with Beatrice Ngamo.
Almost a week after the 8th session of the Cameroon-Nigeria Transborder Security Meeting in Abuja, the new ways of collaboration continues here in Yaoundé on how to deepen security of both countries. The focus of the audience, Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, granted the Nigerian High Commissioner to Cameroon this Wednesday.
All those areas that came up in the discussion have been addressed by the two countries, and all the relevant agencies, ministerial department and agencies that are to attend and to address these issues are being informed appropriately. And very soon we'll begin to see the results and the outcome of the deliberation of the 8th session, which is also to deepen the security between the two nations, the countries.
Aspects on the table also the follow-up of issues of the 7th session not properly handled because of the COVID-19 pandemic last year.
So those areas that were not properly attended to were also included in the resolution of the 8th session, so that all these aspects will, in other words, enhance the security of both nations.
One of the resolution of the Commission was the establishment of local bilateral security committee in the border localities of both countries. This to guarantee security, given that the two people will better collaborate within such a structure to identify and handle security issues.
And we take you to the north region of Cameroon, where elites have launched a crusade against abandoned projects, which you see slows down the economy of the area. The objective is to identify abandoned projects in the north, far north and Adamawa regions of Cameroon. More with Saleh Sherifa.
It has become commonplace in this part of the country to see projects that are abandoned. The elite pan mission that came here to Garoua is made up of members of the government, representatives of the people, personalities and technocrats. This mission meets with the president of the regional council to list all projects that are not progressing in the north, particularly during this stage.
Mr. Minister, before launching a lot of market, make the list of those of our brothers who no longer recite the public order. They are considered by us as criminals and do not insist on that word. The children of the north must have a patriotic culture.
Clear message is given. The northern regions must catch up in terms of economic, social, cultural and other development. The populations are remobilized in the face of development issues.
We will follow the funding programming, implementation in the field. We will follow everything so that if there is 1 franc released at the level of the state, that it is found at the level of the interests of the populations at the base.
All development projects will be identified to provide a lasting solution, a development which will reassure a peaceful social climate within the populations.
Education stakeholders in the northwest region of Cameroon have been drumming up strategies to beef up students' turnout in the new academic year that begins on September 6, 2021. According to authorities, stringent security measures are part of the package which will be unraveled as from Monday. The details in the following story.
Less than a week to the start of the 2021-2022 academic year in the Northwest region, secondary education stakeholders are gearing up with preparations. Principals, divisional delegates, regional, administrative and security authorities have met in Bamenda on Tuesday for a sector conference to review the previous and project the new school year.
You know, a few days ago, our minister did redeployment of teachers. And right now we're trying to look at areas that have been satisfied with the redeployment the minister has done. And the minister has given further instructions for us to go further and do further redeployment, so that we don't have a situation where there are teachers idling somewhere and it's an acute shortage elsewhere.
From the 8 presentations and lengthy speeches, all boils down to the quest for a secured atmosphere for cleaning of campuses.
increased enrollments, and hard work for better output and end of course examinations.
I want to congratulate those who have started doing it in various divisions of the region, cleaning the classrooms. Even the road leading to the classes have been cleaned in various localities of the region. And some councils, prominent elites.
Principals have been warned against admitting more than 50 students per class, nor interfering in school insurance money. Meanwhile, many road stretches linking Bamenda to the divisions are passable only on weekends, except Bali, where all remains grounded for close to 2 months now. And that was it for this edition of Newscast in the English language on Canal the International. Thanks so much for watching. Coming up next is The Brief with Lil Piégou. We also have news in the French language at exactly 7:50. This never Senkan. I'll arrange this Lenkanga. As for me, I'll be back tomorrow for another edition. Good night.